Hello, hello. Testing 1, 2. Hello everyone, thank you very much for coming. My name is Sean, I'm the Head of Communications at Blaze Entertainment. We make the Evercade. Thanks very much for coming out. A lot of these shows have been pretty much just pure Q&A, so apologies, I've got a small, not death by PowerPoint presentation. Before I get into that though, just to ask the question, I'm pretty sure, having seen some of you already here, who has an Evercade here? Nice, nice. I've got to convert half of you. Who has heard of Evercade here? Even better, I have to do less education. And then the other question, just a little fun question. Who's discovered a game because of Evercade? Nice. Nice, this is good. I've got some notes here, so apologies that I'm doing that. For the people who are uninitiated, here's a little bit of a video about Evercade. It just tells you, or shows you a little bit about what we are. We're a retro gaming system. We come in a handheld, we come in an arcade machine, we come in a TV console that you plug in, and the entire thing that we do is we make game cartridges purely for our own system. We license games officially from the licensors, and they allow us to publish the games on our system. So you can take all of the things that you love about retro gaming, have it physically, have it there, and then play and save with all the modern bits that you like saving games, having a few screen filters and things. It's all emulation, and it is all simple and easy. Since 2020, we've obviously done quite a lot. We had an original handheld, and then we've, as you can see on here, kind of expanded a bit, and on the video we've done a little bit more. What I want to do though, to sort of explain why Evercade matters, I want to go back in time a little bit, so if you'll allow me a little flight of fancy. Back in 2020, we were a complete unknown company, a complete unknown thing, and we made this device called Evercade, which was my boss's brainwave, which was, let's make a cartridge-based system so that we can license all of these cool games from the history of gaming that you could take with you anywhere, you could play on your TV for a HDMI output. And it was a cool concept, we thought, but we didn't know whether it would work. And neither did anybody else. So when we were really starting the project, we had a few comments online of different things. So here was one of the first reviews. It's the 21st century, just let me download some ROMs. Someone from Reddit, not sure how this will survive in the jungle of handheld emulators. If Adam's in the audience, I'm sorry. It seems like the Evercade shouldn't exist in 2020. And that quote does finish with, and yet it does. So, you know, in fairness to Adam, just get a Raspberry Pi. You know, just do that instead, you know. This won't last a year. And then finally, good luck to them. Which, you know, thanks for that, we definitely did it. But 6 years ago, the world was a weird place. You know, all of those opinions, they weren't necessarily consensus, but they were what people thought about emulation. Why don't you just do a Raspberry Pi? Why don't you just do all of these kind of things? And the idea of a retro system with a cart just felt a bit odd to a lot of people. And it's worth kind of thinking back to what 6 years ago was like, because, you know, this quaint, charming cartridge system was probably a bit pointless to people who have been in the digital age. You know, we had, back then, mostly, 4 main streaming services, not the 27 that are competing for your wallet all the time now. You know, we didn't have as much streaming, so it was a little simpler. Everybody thought it was going to be great. You know, we were working on decluttering our homes. We were trying to get rid of stuff, not collect more stuff, not collect more physical. You know, it was kind of the zenith of the blockbuster. It was the last real big time until Tom Cruise went and made everything big again. But it was the last time that cinema was a cinema experience and not just waiting for whichever straight to DVD Netflix thing that's happening this month. And then it was the start of the live service boom. It was the start of digital. It was the start of people not leaving the house. Not just because of COVID. But you know, retro gaming at the time was thriving. It was a big thing, but it wasn't perfect. Digital ownership, which is a conversation that still happens now, every single time something gets released, something gets retired, or any of these kind of things, made people uneasy about what they owned. Retro games themselves got crazy expensive. Grading started to happen. You know, I saw out there yesterday, there's a Super Mario Brothers for $25,000. You know, that's a small house deposit in the UK. You know, the hardware became harder to use, not because it was breaking or anything else, but because technology was going past what it was designed for, and it was really difficult to try and make all of these original consoles just work seamlessly together with the televisions that you had. And then finally, ROMs, Raspberry Pis, great, but all you're doing is databasing and file management, and nobody wanted to spend their days really in front of a computer, having spent their day in front of a computer trying to organize your files. You know, and these presented the kind of problems that people didn't really know or understand about retro gaming. Unless you were really into retro gaming, you know, what do you buy? There were so many choices on the market of random things that were out there. What do I play? There was 50,000 games on all of these devices, and nobody knows where you start. How do I know what's good? There's no review system. You can't just go, which one of these 50,000 games am I going to research now and randomize it? How does it all work? Loads of people was like, okay, I want to get something. I want to use it. How do I use it? How do I make it do what I want it to do? I'm not a computer engineer. I don't want to sit here and play this. It all became too mad. And then one of the real key things is, who can I talk to about it? Because you can talk to loads of people online, on Reddit, on all of these comments and everything, about how to set up these devices, how to install your own OS. You know, you could do all these things. Nobody talks about the games. Nobody ever goes, oh yeah, I've got this device and I found this really cool game or anything. They always talk about the hardware and making the hardware best. And what we really wanted people to focus on was playing the games and having a good time. So, you know, at the time, doing a cartridge-based ecosystem was a bit weird. It's like, do we need another way to play retro games? You know, even before then, I probably would have said no, but I think people did. And what we discovered from that is why Evercade matters, is because we really worked out what was going on. There was too much choice. Nobody knew what to buy. There was too little discovery. Nobody knew what to play. There's too much friction. People didn't know how to use the things. There's too little ownership. It was all about a digital library that was on a hard drive or an SD card. It wasn't about actually holding something in your hand. And there was too little community around the bit that was really important. So we thought, what if we brought back cartridges? How would that work? Well, what the cartridge does is it gives you less choice. Which sounds mad, but sometimes you can get so overwhelmed with the choice of what's out there, you really just need something to really nail down on. And the way the cartridge systems work really give you a limited amount of games to play, so you play all of them, and you discover the things that you haven't played before. It gives you more focus because we've got the manual, because we've got a smaller selection. It lets people discover the games, it lets people really go back to the games that they love. And then finally, because it was just plug a cartridge in and play, it was easy to discover all of these things. And what that brought was curation. We get a list of games from a licensor, and we say, oh, we'll have that one, we'll have that one, we'll have that one. We do our research. We're all retro game fans, so we all look through and understand a lot of stuff. But what we then did is create curation. It became almost like a trust and authority in our fans, that we knew what we were picking. We knew we were going to give you the good games, but we were also going to give you some other games as well. We were going to give you things that you didn't know about, and we were going to give it to you in a way that you really knew that we cared about it, and just help describe it to you with our manuals, help showcase it on our systems with the cool graphics and art that everybody wants from all of their things. You know, the world around retro games wasn't perfect, but this helped create a space where people could enjoy retro without having to worry about all of the things that came across with retro. And that carried on, and that expanded from the original 10 cartridges that we had of just home console games to, by the end of this year, 89 cartridges and over 700 games, all on our devices. And all of that was because we discovered the problems that, you know, people didn't even know that you had, like back in 2020. We didn't even know that those were things. And that's one of the things that Evercade does. It eliminates those problems that you didn't even realize, because we offered a simpler way, so you didn't have to go around, run scrapers, download loads of things for about like 45 minutes on the internet and hope it all works. It gave you the information about the game, which was great if you didn't know what to play. And when there were so many things, it gives you the simple things, it tells you what it is, it tells you how many players, and it all just works very well for it. And it was all easy to use. You didn't need a computer engineering degree to go through our UI and to install a new OS or anything else like that. Oh, yeah, that was that one. And the best thing about all of this is that it was a return to physical. All of this almost online stuff on the device is great, but what really connected it to people was bringing back a physical cartridge that had everything on it. And these things, you know, you hold it, you own it, you know it's there, you know it works, much like all of the original games. You have these cool little boxes so people can display them. You have the experience of opening a brand new box for the first time for a video game. You don't get that really anymore with anything. You can read the manuals that we make. It gives you some information, but it feels like you're learning something as you're playing. It allows you to share the hobby, because there's so many people that love Evercade and really got behind the concept that they love to share it with other people and sort of bring more people into this world. And the thing is, while we're in a digital future, and I think I'm probably preaching to the converted here, physical ownership means more than people realize. You guys invest in an Evercade cart, you get the games, you get a sense of enjoyment, you get the curation that we provide. You know, we said, you know, these games are worth your time. We said there's something here for you, and everybody really, really likes it, you know. In this age of endless choice and madness of 50,000 games and stuff, having somebody say, we think this is for you, really helps everybody enjoy what they're getting from the system. And in 2020, a lot of people said we were mad and thought it would work really well, and it did. And since then, you know, we've been able to grow and grow and grow with people covering our products and being really, really kind to us, really helping the system grow. Having people that are covering our announcement showcases like their full-on gaming news. Having people share their own collections that they have built in their houses to help display all of their stuff. Having community members from all parts of the world doing shows for us without us even asking or being there. This one on the bottom right is the Spanish Evercade community. And they ran a stand at Retro Barcelona. I'll move across the screen too. You guys over there can see it. I can see you craning your neck. They ran this themselves because out of the love of Evercade, which is incredible. And you know, 2020, we didn't think this was going to happen or this was going to be there. We didn't think we would connect. And we wondered why. Was it the games? Was it that it was physical? Was it that we solved all of these problems? Partially. But I think what we also hit was an era of preservation, and not preserving games, but preserving memory. You know, it sounds a bit cliche, but preservation isn't just about making sure that a game survives in this world. It's about preserving the experience. It's about when we were young, when we bought the games and we opened up the plastic and we held them all and we swapped games and we went to Blockbuster. All of this stuff over the last 20, 30 years has been lost. And what Evercade does isn't just give you great retro games, give it to you easily and allows you to have a physical collection. it preserves the experience of what we had, an experience in time of how gaming worked, not just from the games, but how you felt. You know, that connects with memory, and that helps with creating new audiences because people want to know what it was like. People in this digital age don't know what this physical stuff was like, and you can see people now flocking to 4K Blu-rays, flocking to vinyl, because they want something physical and they want to understand. And it allows people to pass this down to their children and experience what they felt. And each cartridge itself becomes a preservation of memory in a small way. And it's great for us to say, this part of gaming history deserves to be remembered. Not just the games, not just the arcade, but also that whole thing of smelling a manual when it's fresh print and all those kind of things. So yeah, we found problems and solutions. First problem, there are lots of different consoles out there. There's a lot of different choice. Solution, let's just make one thing. Let's make one cartridge system. We can do it, and it all goes on one thing. And now you can play it in multiple different ways, but it's still one cartridge. All of the one and done stuff at the time, you know, the mini consoles and all this kind of stuff, sat on the shelf. By 2020, people had got bored of it. It was collecting dust. You couldn't get it for love nor money if you were interested. So the great thing about cartridges is it makes you come back. You get something new, you get into the Evercade, you bring it back off the shelf and play. Nobody at the moment owns anything because we're all going digital. Well, solution is to bring back something physical, bring back that physical media that people want and people crave. Especially if anybody is considering buying GTA, I'm sure everybody's waiting until later this year to see whether it does become physical or not. You know. Too many games. Curate the collection like an album track. Everything is hard to set up and download in retro, loads of ROMs, loads of disk images, loads of screen time that you need to use for it. Let's just make it easy for everyone. And finally, retro being too expensive, let's make it affordable. Obviously, prices have changed over the last few years. Everything's going up, as everybody knows, but we are still one of the most affordable ways to play retro games out there. With each cartridge, $30. So Evercade is here, and it matters because it solved a problem that we didn't know we had. And you know, since 2020, when we should have stopped and we should have let everybody get a Raspberry Pi, everything has changed and evolved. We've expanded to be able to play games on TV in full 1080p so people can see everything and play. We expanded to include arcade machines. We got so noted that we managed to attract bigger and bigger names, like building in Capcom into the device, like IREM. We started to bring indie games to people who hadn't been able to be published on the physical system. Stuff that was made for older systems got a new lease of life with Evercade. It brought a load more curation to the world. And then we annoyed several arcade machine makers by making our own one. We annoyed several people by making an affordable handheld that people could play carts and get things just like it's a Christmas gift, but preserving the physical experience. And that's where we are at now. We've grown and grown and grown, really with the support and the help of all the people that saw in 2020 that we solved a problem for them, and they've helped make other people realize the problems that we solve. And then we get to now. We're the cheapest way to play Neo Geo. We are bringing the incredible Banjo-Kazooie to both our Super Pocket console, which got released on Friday, and also everything coming later. And then some news of Doom later this year. We've been able to work with Microsoft, with Activision, with SNK, with all of these people, because we really, really found a solution that people wanted to do. And we're a great news story for a lot of people. They want to come and join our party. So yeah, back in 2020, None of this is wrong. You know, this is all fair and all valid, but what everybody didn't realise they wanted was a simpler, more joyful way to experience retro gaming. And that is why Evercade matters. And this is where we get to next. Moving into the future, seeing the newest things that are happening with the new Evercade Nexus. And you can see the evolution of where we've got to, from the Evercade EXP to the Super Pockets to the Evercade Nexus. Trying to get the balance between what everybody wants, a bigger screen because we're all getting old and our eyes are rubbish. Still keeping physical cartridges, still keeping the experience of what we do simple and easy, but not making it too expensive, not making it too big that you're frightened to take it out of the house like a Steam Deck, not worrying about having to set up emulation cores or set up anything else, being able to do everything that you just want a retro gaming device to do with just a couple of simple steps. Plug it in, turn it on, and have a good time. And that is what Evercade is all about and continues to be about, and what we're continuing to strive for as we go into year 6, year 7, year 10, who knows where the future will take us. So yeah, that's why I think Evercade matters. I'm sure you've all got your own opinions and stuff. Thank you very much for watching this small presentation.